I'm doing it now.
Okay. So before I start, one of the important things which I understood when we were talking about data science and when me and Ranu were speaking, I think it is always one important area of something known as a trainer's dilemma. Okay? So I'm sure there's a lot of fraternities there who's a part of the training fraternity, the HR fraternity. There's always a trainer's dilemma that we really don't know how amazing the audience is. At the same time, we really don't know from where to start and where to end. So I'm in the same situation of private trainer's dilemma, and I would try and attempt to make those dilemmas as least as possible. So as we had a discussion on data science, so the idea was shared to me was, like, hey, why don't you speak something on the area of data science? And so I thought, let me try and attempt something in the area of data science. So these are the three key things which I will be sharing with you in the next 60 to 75 minutes. And I will try to make it as interactive as possible so that, it becomes more interesting, more dialogue based, and absolutely open to all of questions. So please feel free to, share your questions or ask, put it on the chat so that we can take it forward. So is that good to go? I would need a little bit of interactive input. Say yes, okay, probably on the chat, that would be good. Anything is fine. Sure, okay, thank you for that. Great, okay, so let us begin with this first thing. We will look at three areas. One is what is data science? So that there are a lot of questions and discussions on that, and I'll try and help you with certain, clarity on that. The second thing is, of course, as all are a part of the human resources fraternity. So I will try and make some sense of data science and how it can be for human resources. When I say human resources, I speak about the training fraternity, I speak about the L&D fraternity, I speak about the independent consultants, all of them. And of course, one of the most demanding thing today in the industry today is that most of the people are really having a tough time to do reskilling for people in the organization, trying to hire new talent. So try and speak something on that area. So the last area. So so that's pretty much the point of discussion what we have. So let's start straight away with what is data science. So before we start, what is data science? Anybody would want to share something on what is data science? What is their understanding of data science? Please feel free. As I said, I would want dialogue. Yeah, anyone please quickly unmute yourself and talk. Ranu, is that feasible? Is that possible?
Yes, people can.
Yes,
people
yes.
can.
Okay, cool. So great. So anyone can just unmute and just say what according to you would possibly be like data sciences. I just really love that line, old wine of statistics in a new bottle of technology. I completely agree. So we can, and I know I'm feeling the old wine and this program, but I think very humorously put. To a little extent, sir, you are right. I think a lot of statistics definitely involved. It's an amazingly humorous attempt. I'm really thankful for that, Shrikant sir. Anyone else?
So if I may try, what I understand, it's like science is always evidence-based thing. So how we are taking decision with some evidence. So data is actually very crucial, but how we are leveraging this data, how we are making some more informed decision. What I understand, data science is all about this.
Very true. I mean, absolutely, you are always there, and you're right in that. Well, let me not waste time. Let me just quickly talk about what is it all about. So, data science is a field. Okay? It is a field which is comprises of everything and anything which is related to data. It could be possibly getting a correct data for doing some work or trying to understand something. It could be possibly cleaning that particular data which I have received or someone has received so that it makes sense for something to do. It's also about preparing data for a particular analysis or a PowerPoint presentation or a discussion or a visualization. And the most important part is it just doesn't deal with one type of data, it deals with all types of data. For example, if I would want to, do some work and try and understand how many people who have applied for a role in my company and how many people took the offer and how many people didn't take the offer. And I just wanted to know the demographics of that particular candidate. So I would probably take that data, make some visualization. Or maybe a lot of exit interviews happen in an organization, and I would want to know, okay, what are the pulse of the people when they leave. So rather than recording, we probably have a voice recording of these people, and everybody would probably say something. They had a great time in the organization, but they want to move into an academic interest. Somebody would probably be absolutely in a different tone of voice. They must have had some bad experiences. So it's also about that data of a voice where we could probably analyze and see where are the pain points of person who is trying to leave this organization. So there could be different types. There could be a picture data, that could be a data which is absolutely in codes, there could be data in a very straightforward table or a number. So data science encompasses all types of data, and especially the focus is to build something, find something through cleaning the data, preparing the data, making the data ready for us to think and get some information out of it. Now, obviously, when we talk about it, how does it work? It works in a very simplistic way. It uses a lot of things to make that data analyze or work for us. So the process involves using statistics, using some mathematical approaches or mathematical techniques. It also includes a little bit of programming because we need to do the same thing again and again, and you need to make a procedure out of it. It also involves an intuitive way of looking at things to find out some different ideas. Like one example I could probably give is, if I have to look at, why people in a particular sales territory often quit. Not that the territory is in the remotest part of the country, or is it because of something else, or is it because as simple as that, that territory is inaccessible from a public transport? Probably people wouldn't want to continue living there because it's very difficult to travel. So there has to be a very ingenious, different way of looking at things. So that is also one of the ingredients when it gets combined to build something, to find out something. So data science is a combination of statistics, mathematics, programming, more importantly, understanding which business are you in. So if you are running a business of consulting, if our business of training, you need to understand that business so that you know some traits of that business through your experience, and you try and use that experience as one of the variables with the combination of all of this to come up with something so that you know what are the information which I can extract out. Now, a lot of terms people talk about very very what do you say, oscillating terms of data science and data analytics. So just to make this easy for all of us, data analytics is more a subset of area of data science. It involves only one part. Once I get the data cleaned and clear for our interest, I would possibly then use that as a raw data and run some mathematical statistical models to get some conclusions out of it. So data analytics is primarily a part of data science as a whole, and it involves examining the raw data. Are we good till now? Any questions till now? Hello.
Yes, it's good, Venkatesh.
Now, what does it involve? So as we spoke about, data science involves a combination of math, stat, problem solving. As data analytics is a part of it, it involves a very pure procedures of algorithms, programs, statistical tools to write those algorithms and tools, uh, programs to be written using those statistical tools and techniques so that you try and make sense out of some data to fetch an information. Like for example, if I have to look at what kind of people join my organization and why is the attrition so high, and then I probably go through different sets of data. I would first go with the data of number of people who have joined from an institute who are like management trainees. Are management trainees actually quitting, which is causing attrition? Or is it something like a person with 4 to 8 years of experience in that bucket is trying to leave the organization for a better say, pay or a better financial benefit? So I actually look at each of these data sets, try and use correlations and see whether is it because of this, what is happening. So all of these things are like an analytical approaches for me to find out a solution or probably find out a problem more than a solution. Then solution probably is the next step once I identify the problem or identify the traits of the problem. So data analytics speaks about algorithmic process. Now, one of the challenging things is why we are all talking about data. The reason why we are talking about data is because there are a lot of data problems which an organization is going through or probably organization is having. And there are different types of data problems which exist. And we thought that we should just try and explain to you what are these data problems, because these data problems are very real life, oriented towards a function like HR or probably any other function also. And basis these data problems, we would try and see which is the best type of analytics which we use to solve these data problems. So one of the important things is like there are these, subset, and there are a lot of these different problems. The first problem is to make predictions. Like if I'm in an HR fraternity or a training fraternity, I would want to know or make a prediction whether this person is going to be continuing my organization for after next 6 months or he will quit, or possibly making a prediction that this training program will it going to be as effective to the function of sales and marketing for business. So one is making predictions, by and large. Second is categorizing things. If I want to categorize something, I need to know what are the different training needs in different parts of the employees in our organization. There are people who are young, who have just joined, people who are very old. What can I do? What kind of training program? Where do I categorize them? Now that could be a second problem which we need to solve. The third problem is I need to actually find something very unusual, very, very important when it comes to compliance issues, when it comes to salary rationalization. If suddenly we realize that, oh my God, we have hired this guy for the last 4 years and he is joined in the lowest pay scale. And I'm not so sure how much of an increment will make him rationalize to all the other people. Or it could be vice versa. It could be a person who's like on top end of the salary bucket, and we really having a tough time to him because his increments would just flow out of the entire band of that particular function or the vertical. Now, spotting something unusual, and this is something which is always important for any professional in the organization. Next is possibly identifying more further categorization. Like I have identified the training need of a candidate, but I really don't know whether the training need is more focused on a tech skills or more focused on a soft skills. Am I supposed to make him understand the soft skills part? So I do further categorization. So in category, I would probably try and do something more, and that is something also a problem. I don't know. I have a lot of data of the person, and we have gone through a lot of training programs, but I really don't know what is the pinpoint further category of training need which I would have to suffice for. The next type of a data problem is a connection. We always don't, we suddenly see there is some trend of things happening. We suddenly see that, we are not able to capitalize on these connections. Like there could be an organization where a lot of people who have been of a particular gender, which has been predominantly not taken as a job by that gender, has been starting to take. Like female employees accepting leadership roles in sales and operations, by and large in a place like India, which is still building up, it's still evolving. We suddenly see in certain particular functions or the certain particular geographies, and that also gives us some trends. And are we able to catch those trends and see how best we can leverage is something we could probably find and decipher. And of course, the last part is, finding patterns. And typically these happens in the younger lot of people when we try and pick up students from a campus. We need to know, okay, we know from this particular college or for this particular function, this college is by and large pick it up. And I have also seen that these students or these particular management students are doing good work. They are too motivated. They love to come to job every day in the morning, and they are a good brand ambassadors of our company. So all of these are certain basic data problems, and from an HR perspective or from a L&D perspective, we would want to know and try and attempt to find answers for this. Is there any other data problem which we could probably solve? Any inputs on this? Any inputs on this? Is there any other data problem which we probably could solve?
Yeah, I would like to give an input over here.
Yeah.
My name is Kamath, Pradeep Kamath.
Yes, sir.
And I would like to give an input over here that when we talk in terms of HR analytics, I think one would be able to possibly apply it in a variety of situations. I would rather say that since you mentioned in terms of training and development, yeah, I think over here learning algorithms could be used in terms of segmenting the employees with particular training needs, which can then improve perhaps even the employee engagement scores or indicate readiness to leverage the training opportunities, learning opportunities. That's one. Or you talk of one more point is regarding the employee risk analysis. Now, organizations can understand and develop some type of a risk quotient of individual employees, which could be based upon the employee turnover data, which can enable in terms of reducing the loss of critical talent in the organization. And then maybe you can identify the reduced committed employees. This analysis can also help in terms of understanding the data regarding the employee demographics, the performance, the compensation, and training. And managers can also isolate the triggers for attrition and therefore can prevent it. Similarly, one more area where you can apply is even you can use it even for purpose of HR demand forecasting. That means predicting the manpower inventory, future requirements, job precision plans, which can be done, even used for training, used for redeployment. I think that. And I think these are some points. But basically, what I would like to mention is that, yes, you can use it for descriptive analysis. You can use it for diagnostic analysis. You can use it for predictive analysis. You can use it for prescriptive analysis per se. I think that's something which possibly at this particular stage, I feel that, yes, a lot of work can be done in terms of HR data analysis, which perhaps is a vast challenge to many of the HR professionals, and maybe persons like me are learners in this application. And I think, sir, you would be able to give a lot more input on all these various areas, which is the order of the day.
That, in fact, I was just trying to build that thought process, and I think I'm really thankful to you to actually open that up. And my next of the slides actually speaks about it. So if you broadly classify a problem in any function, and let's specifically talk about HR, we probably understand the problem in four ways. The first thing is, before we want to solve a problem, and I think this is more of a process of how you use analytics or data science and analytics in an organization. So the first thing is you first figure a problem. So like as sir mentioned, attrition, and let's take a simple example of a problem which is there in an organization. Like say organization is going through a heavy attrition, and let's not have a benchmarking figure. I'm taking an illustration purpose that the attrition is at 3%. Now, the first thing is we need to know what is the problem. So the management comes back, and I'm trying to share a case with you on this. So like a management comes and says that today we have a problem of 3% attrition. I don't know why it is happening. Let's try and see what is it. So the first process of is to understand how we need to, structurally go through this whole solving the problem. The first thing is descriptive analysis, which is basically knowing, is what is happening. So the first thing you need to know is attrition, how much is attrition. So first thing, you would probably do a descriptive analytics. So what is descriptive analytics? It describes the current state of what is happening. So what I would probably do is first pick up all the details and relevant information of the two people who have resigned or what is the attrition. So I can look at last 6 months data, last 1 year data. I will look at function-wise data of attrition, how many people have quit. I would probably look at geography-wise data of attrition. I would probably look at the reason-wise data, why people have left the organization. I would try and first create a whole lot of data points as a report on existing what is happening. So I will first create all those MIS, like list of people who have quit, functions from where they have quit, at which level of the organization in terms of designation they have quit, and where have they joined, what are the reasons they have cited for their resignation. All of this, I would possibly create a first level, which is known as what is happening. So once I know what is happening, I would then probably then go to the next level of analytics, which is known as diagnostics. So I need to know what is happening, exactly why that thing happened. Then I could probably get more deeper into that data set and probably find out, okay, there has been a huge attrition in sales. If I look at the overall attrition of 3%, sales has got 75% of that 3%. So I think the problem is more in the sales function. I'm just taking an illustration. It is need not be that way. And then I will say, okay, the least is maybe there is a data, there is a lot of correction in data because there is only one attrition which has happened in a particular function, and that could be probably skewing a lot of percentage. So I would probably eliminate that function or a vertical. So I would probably deep dive and find out the major chunk of attrition in which function, or probably which department, or probably which level of people. Is it the middle management which is actually leaving, or is it the junior management, or probably it's a senior management? So I will probably then get into a little diagnostic mode, like how a doctor diagnoses, and I will find out certain specific areas. Now, as I've found out the diagnostic, and I will also possibly get some reasons for it. Now, the next step happens is, what do I do? Like, if things are going to go the way they are, I have no ability to make changes. There is a fair possibility that the people from sales are quitting, and in the next 6 months, I sense with my gut that there are 10 more people who are probably trying to quit. I would then try and look at an as-is predictive analysis, that what will happen if in this function so many people quit, and probably run some small simple regression approach to get to know that what would be the end outcome with the as-is scenario. So I will probably come up with some kind of a simple regression model which says that, in my opinion, this territory has been having a leadership challenge, and there are people quitting, and I think there are a lot of people who are not happy with the salary. So I envisage and I probably model that there could be next 10 more attrition or 10 more people who will be quitting in the function happening. And basis that, I actually try and predict what would be the outcome from a business perspective, or probably the impact at a business perspective. And I predict something, I forecast something, and that's a third type of analytics which I would probably thrive in, which is known as predictive analytics. Are we all good till now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Now, once I do this activity, I need to know what should I do about it? Like, if I have to make the changes, like obviously I know that the forecast says that 20 more people are going to quit, and I have to go through a challenging business impact because they are going to be the frontline sales guys, and my whole revenue top line will go down on a toss. Now I prescribe, like how a doctor understands that he feels that you've got not COVID, but a viral fever, and he prescribes certain activities for you to do so that you can change the course of action. So I prescribe some initiatives. It could be a process refinement, it could be a tangible financial refinement or a financial incentive, or it could be a simple leadership change. There could be a lot of solutions which you would probably prescribe and simulate that, say that, if I change the leader, what is the possible outcome which will happen? Okay, 10 people will not quit, 4 will quit. If I change the leader and I possibly do an incentive, maybe out of 10 people, only 8 will be retained, 2 will quit. So I basically create a prescriptive approach, and that is known as a prescriptive model. So if you just take this case of a simple attrition, first to understand what is happening and what is the data point of how many people have quit, then you understand why they have quit and what could be the possible reasons, and you deep dive there. And these first two are the most critical hands-on dirty data work which happens in an organization. The reason is because the predictive and prescriptive are much easier, because if you have a right set of data in a system or a computer, garbage in is garbage out. So if you have a right kind of a data, you will get a right kind of output, because predictive and prescriptive are typically driven by an automatic algorithm or an application. But that application will only give you a better outcome only and only if your data is in the most cleanest possible way. And that's where the lot of work happens. And a lot of the time we don't capture data of a particular instance. We don't have a data in the right format in that instance. And that is where our challenges multiply. So if you have to look at this whole cycle of analytics, descriptive and diagnostics are the basics, key benchmarks to build any predictive or prescriptive model. Just to give you the perspective, like how Gartner has spoken about. So if you look at the difficulty when it comes to outcomes, when I say difficulty, I am talking about difficulty in terms of how advanced we could probably go. But these difficulties doesn't matter unless we have these two things absolutely worked out correctly. And majority of the challenges happen here. We are not able to record or tabulate what is happening in a proper data centric way, or why did it happen with a proper objective based things. If we have these two things, then this two becomes very easy. This difficulty is more to do with applicability and usage, because as you move up and get into something advanced, it is very important to be learning those advanced tools, advanced softwares, advanced understanding of mathematics and statistics to come there. So if you look at this entire graph, it all starts with what happened. And these are certain things which is very important when you have to start doing this, like getting a report, getting your data in place through a proper data discovery. You could have a proper data warehouse in your organization, or probably build one. Then getting into some kind of online analytical tools to get the drill down of data. And this is where you use a lot of software as a service based tools. Like most of the companies would be using some software like a BI tool or probably a Tableau, where you do a lot of these things, and that will give you these two parts. You could do that in Excel too. You could probably build that in normal bar and graph charts too. But multivariate analytics, it becomes easy using 2-3 variables. Like for example, I would want to know how many people in sales who have at area sales manager level in particular territory in India quit. So when I have multiple variables that I need to slice and dice, it becomes easy for me to work with some tool, typically a visualization tool, to get these things done. But once I do this, then this particular process of predictive and prescriptive becomes easier, because the data is much cleaner. And here your major learning of understanding algorithms, understanding statistical techniques which can help you to get to these data. And if you want to just know whether you will quit or not, you could not probably use a linear or a multiple regression, you could probably use a logistic regression. So here is where the difficulty of implementing and before learning becomes crucial. But the world is moving like this, and all of these are only going to help you to build a better system in place, build a better approach in place, so that your profitability increases, your costs are optimized, and generally you are in the most productive spectrum as you go ahead in your business. As we go ahead, now the question is, this all is an overall perspective. So what is HR analytics? So can anybody share their views on this? Hello?
Yeah, when we talk in terms of HR analytics, possibly one may be able to look at it from several perspectives for that matter. You may be able to take analysis of various metrics that are involved. Though the HR analytics and metrics are not identical, but HR analytics basically will use various statistical techniques and try to show impact of various activities of HR and on the organization, on organizational performance metrics and something of that type. I think that is one way. That means you are using the data, HR data, and measuring and getting some sort of better insights into whatever HR issues are there. I think that is my perspective of HR analytics in
Yeah,
some
so
way.
just to make it more easier and more larger, when we talk about analytics, we talk about problems to be solved, identifying certain key information to solve the problem. So if the problem is pertaining to marketing, we would probably call it as marketing analytics, and that could be 20 different processes in marketing like customer acquisition, customer retention, so on. Similarly, when we talk about finance as a function, we will talk about certain areas of finance like cost optimization or cash flow forecasting or ABCD things in finance. But when we talk about HR, which is very, very specifically looking from an internal and external customer point of view, which are employees, their well-being, their training programs, their growth and career and succession planning. So HR analytics is also called as people analytics because it focuses on employee-related initiatives and data. So it could be an employee-related joining, employee-related training, employee-related growth, employee-related succession planning, or employee-related compliance. And of course, you're right in saying that it uses different tools, and more importantly, metrics. Because metrics, if I don't know what to measure, I will never be able to monitor and grow. So if I have to measure it, I need to put a matrice in place. And hence HR analytics is all about employee-related tools and the matrices. To make it more easier, it basically is all about collecting the data from the internal and external sources, processing that data or making that data clean enough for me to get some more information about it, and then probably create some outcomes out of it and help the organization to focus on a particular objective. It could be like getting the right kind of a talent in my organization, or possibly ensuring that I reskill my employees in a periodic manner so that they keep performing to their optimum and maximizing the growth of the organization. And they could be anybody. They could be sales guys, marketing guys, finance guys. They could be low down the order. They could be senior leadership, everybody under the sun. So going back, there are 4 levels in which HR analytics operates. So that is typically what we spoke about the earlier parts. First is the operation, the what. First is you need to do a lot of what in your organization, get the data, what is happening, more reactive, more operationally driven efficiency, more compliance, getting to know how many people come for interviews, which are the agencies which give me top 20 resumes, of which agencies in the last 1 year has been giving me consistently good candidates. When I talk about HR training, which are the different HR agencies and the training agencies which have supplemented us, what is the cost I have to shell out, and what is the percentage of cost, and can I map it in terms of how many people from which functions go to which agencies. I would probably do that first as what, and then I will try and do the why part, benchmarking, like saying that if I have to look at a particular portal for getting a job, the benchmark of that portal is this, so can I see whether this particular thing works for me? So then I'll say why it has not worked for me. And then I move advanced, try and identify certain issues, predict some outcomes, and get into the root cause analysis using some modeling. And then obviously further, I kind of, build more prediction. I probably say that, if I launch a city with 4 ASMs, what could be the outcome? And rather than launching the city with the 4 ASMs, I would probably, can I launch that city with 2 executives? Will it have a different outcome? So I basically try and mitigate different simulated approaches and models because I have a lot of data of both the types. A city with only 2 executives have done good, so that my cost planning becomes better. A city with 2 ASMs have not done so good, but it has been little marginally better than the city with the sales executives which are 2. So I could probably do some modeling. But if you look at the perspective overall, it is very important to get these 2 right first, and that encompasses almost 80-85% of your total analytical output. If we get these 2 things right, the rest 2 things becomes very easy for us to actually gallop and move out of that and get into that inflection point of driving the business. So that's pretty much the HR analytical approaches. And let's go with some more of operational inputs. Where are these views? HR business planning. It's one of the verticals in HR, and there'll be more verticals too, where applications are on budget planning, costing, forecasting costs. Like we understand that cost of living is increasing, and post-COVID, pre-COVID, lot of changes which have happened in employee needs. Is the organization trying to understand those forecasting, understand and build those costs in forecasting, and see how the efficiency is happening. Of course, there are very, very different ways of today being employed. There are people who are working part-time, there are people working as interns, there are people working full-time. So different financial compensation. Tax becomes one of the key areas of building this financial compensation. So HR business planning, huge applications where you can use data and build some outcome out of it. Of course, we spoke about talent, we spoke about sourcing, which is the best agency who's giving me the number of candidates, which is the college which is really giving me students who are continuing with me as per my HR goals, and what are the best ways I'm retaining talent. And before retaining talent, I'm also getting into employee development and trying to understand how can I retain talent to employee, identifying their needs, building some skill gap analysis, next with the performance management system. And that's the most interesting thing, because there is a lot of numbers which come into play here. How much do I rationalize? What kind of bell curve do I build? How much of significance I should keep so that I drop the outliers here? How do I actually mitigate that bell curve versus the performance appraisal result, and then plotting that whether for a PLI or whether it should be for an increment. Then employee engagement. I really don't know. I need to build a very wonderful, lean, and a very bubbly, progressive team. So now I don't know whom do I make someone in charge of all of this. What kind of behavior that person has exhibited over a period of time. We need to analyze whether how has he been in any initiatives of leadership, how has he been in any initiatives of any other activities, has he done some extracurricular activities. So how does he work in a team? So we do this in silos. We do this in one-on-one engagement. We do this in psychometric assessments. And possibly we could use all this data, run some model, and try and figure out, what kind of a person is suited for what kind of work. And of course, the large part is HR communication. And this is very, very interesting area, because most of the times, as an employee, if not an HR guy, you always would miss a particular communication. So do we know what is the effectiveness of a communication at what time? Like if I have to tell someone that please have your performance appraisal sheets filled today, or I need to get the training requirements today by the head of the function, which is a good time for me to nudge him so that he doesn't have to get irritated, or she doesn't have to get irritated saying that HR is just pushing me, but to make sure that that is the right time to nudge so that we get the maximum output. Various different applications can be envisaged. These are few. As the organizations are progressing, there could be much further areas where applications could be done, like probably whether this person will be can we look at him as a CEO of the organization next 5 years? Does he have traits which are captured objectively, quantifyingly, so that I can build him over a period of time to take through leadership position? There could be many, many more. Having said that, if you look at the entire HR analytics framework, there could be a whole lot of things which can be built on this. This is more of an evolved organization. I would just ask you to have a look at it from a perspective of knowing it. We all may be in different levels of organizations, different levels of data readiness, and but the scope is large, the spectrum is large. It goes from understanding safety, security, ethics as mission, going up to creating personalized experiences, micro learning initiatives, or probably a different way of doing jobs, or probably hiring in a much different way, or probably recruiting someone in a very different approach, which is saving cost and time. So that could be a lot of things happen. This is just as a spectrum, more idealistic for a large, highly evolved organization. Are we good to now?
Yes, sir. Please continue. That's really very, very informative.
So just to conclude the first part of what is analytics, I just wanted to share this saying that data is what we need to do analytics. But the important part is you need to cull information out of you to do business. And this is a very brief overview of data science and analytics. I know it's not a good support for anybody to try and wrap up the data science in a part of or an hour or so. But the idea is to open up the thought process about what are the avenues that can happen and why data science is important. Now I'm going to be very interesting part about what is in it for human resources. Before that, any inputs on this?
So if I may ask one question, I'm coming
Yes.
from L&D background, not from HR background. Knowing these things, all these things looks very, very critical, very, very important for organization and overall for HR function. As per your experience, where we are right now, as far as adopting these HR analytics are concerned?
Okay, so you know what, sir? May I have your name?
Nitin Nigam.
Okay, Mr. Nitin, I don't know whether I have not shared my deck to run. Okay, that's one. But you seem to be envisaging exactly what I'm going to be talking next. Okay, so I'd like to talk this right away.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
so the role of HR. Now, this is the most critical part, and I genuinely believe after 22 years of working and now moving into a different sphere of academic and a student spectrum, I think HR is one of the first thing which is an opening or entry or a first door to any person in the organization. So it is important for the HR to build a catalyst as it be a catalyst for the management to drive the approach of data science and especially in the area of HR and build the organization into a data and a model-driven enterprise. Now, how do you guys do it? How does HR do it? Some thought process on that is first is a data itself. The second is what is technology infrastructure which the organization is having or what HR is trying to build in or pushing it as a catalyst. And third is, of course, how the people look at that particular transformation in that organization. That could be transformation of people, transformation in the process areas, transformation of the culture by itself. So it's a very, very strategic and an important area for any organization to move into a data-driven organization. And I'll come to where we stand. I'll give you a model for that also. But I sense and I personally feel that every department like a function, sales, finance, HR, sorry, sales, finance, operations, or any other function definitely do this in their own capacity because they want to improvise their processes, which are more siloed to their area of work. Obviously, it impacts the business though. But an HR person has got a larger role to play here because if we get a good person, if we get a good process in place, if we have a great process and a great culture in the organization, it all boils down to how HR or L&D or a training as a fraternity starts with. So hence I always feel and I believe that HR is a fraternity which is a catalyst to this change. Now, there are three ways to do it, which I spoke about. The first is to build, how do we start with data? I have to start with data by building a transparent organizational goals. And most of the time, the goals are driven by the function, but it has to be, I would say probably it has to be tied up together from the vision of the organization. And that definitely rests in the hand of HR, who has to nudge the management to make it as clear, as vivid, so that it can be measured well. And that creates the first culture of do we have the data to measure? If not, okay, now the next thing is build that infrastructure. The second thing is it's all about I starting it, I do it, everybody does it. So if HR can start by championing this whole initiative, which is by telling that, you know what, I am going to be looking at the data for any decision making. And I would start like this. So tomorrow, if I'm going to be recruiting 10 people, I would first go and talk to that 5 different manpower agencies. What have you done in the last 5 years? You have always been giving people and your people are leaving in 3 months. Sorry, boss, I wouldn't want to work with you. Or probably I would want you to shape up better. If I start asking these questions to the team members, questioning the agencies, questioning the training fraternity, questioning the training team or L&D team internally, externally, and the idea of questioning is not questioning. Idea of questioning is to get to know the relevant data which is supporting your gut. And that would what will be the second dimension. And of course, the last dimension is how do you build this whole healthy culture. So having said this, let's talk about where our organization stands. And I would want to understand these two very, very critical areas. So there are two key aspects when we talk about data. One is the data-driven mindset, and one is the data-driven culture. Anybody would want to share some views on these 2 points before I get into the quadrant? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I would love to
Yes.
request people from HR functions can share their views. So we have not many ISGDNs here. So anybody would like to share your views?
See, when you talk, I'm not specifically mentioning about HR related, rather data related culture but let me put it this way. Answering the question which was raised by, or rather responding to, or rather commenting on the question which was raised by Mr. Nitin Nigam, let me put it this way. That today, let us put it this, that really people are not, organizations are unclear whether HR has the ability to effectively utilize trends in big data and analytics to really reap the advantages as far as organizational benefits are concerned. And many of the individuals, let's take a realistic picture, that they are in HR or even in L&D, they lack the skills and knowledge as well as the insight in terms of asking right questions relating to HR data. Another thing is that even if skills and ability to conduct the analysis are there, still there is challenge in terms of gathering the data and then turning the information into insights, which really, into results, which possibly are there. Now, one more angle is in many organizations, because HR or learning and development is not a central, there is no central position, though it may be at senior level, though it may be even at apex level, but the centrality not being there in many of the organizations, I think this becomes a limitation as such. And many of the HR departments have struggled in the area of HR analytics to move from operational reporting to perhaps something much more higher level of, say, statistical analysis and development of people-related models, which possibly is really to be done. So there is a lot of things can still be done in this particular area. Little done, the undone vast. I think that is how possibly I will put it in this particular area. Sir, one question I want to ask at this particular stage itself relating to this, and that is relating to the software, which possibly you mentioned. You mentioned, see, what type of software really is required for this type of statistical analysis? Whether one uses
I will come
SPSS.
to that. So it is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
part
Okay,
of,
sir. Okay, sir.
it's going to be a part of that.
Right.
Okay, definitely. So we will get some. I will also share some links which will help you to get to know which kind of softwares which can be used to explore various process improvements in the area of HR. Yeah, is that okay, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now this is the most critical part as a person who is the face of the organization, or the person who is basically going to build the organization to recruitment. And we need to know these two areas well. To make it very easy, there are two key areas. One is data-driven mindset. So what does it mean? It means Venkatesh Iyengar is a person who knows a lot of things, what is moving, changing in the organization, changing in the technological landscape. So I come with an expertise or a know-how of all the technologies. I know like Facebook has moved to Meta. Meta is one of the interesting areas of doing things. And then I know that today people are not only using R, they are using a language known as Python. I know where is Python being used. I know that there is a new software like Tableau which has come, and Tableau is used for these things. So I have an understanding of the technologies being used in the industry. And it is basically that how much I know about data and how much data literate I am. So that is one variable of data-driven mindset. Okay. So there could be a lot of people, and especially in organizations, there are a lot of people who are into this high data-driven mindset. They know a lot of new things. They experiment a lot of new things. They use a new gadgets to work with. They normally are very tech savvy people who want to learn a lot of things. So their mindset is all about new initiatives in the area of technology and technology and public data, or technology and computers or gadgets or whatever. That is one part. The other part is the data-driven culture. Like, the most important thing to ask is there could be a person who would be probably looking at how do I actually implement this in my organization. Like I have, like how is sir very interestingly asked, the quotient for data-driven culture is very high because he is saying that I want to do ABCD things and I may have a less knowledge about it, but whatever I have, I'm putting it to full use to it. I am making it full use to it. Like even organizations are doing the same activity in the most simplest and the easiest form, like an Excel. And there are organizations who have got the best of the software are still trying to struggle on it. And these are two different kinds of organizations which we experience. So what I attempted to do was to build a quadrant in these two areas because they are mutually exclusive. And this is an initiative which we did. So I tried to plot organization in this. So if you look at this, is everybody able to see the quadrant? Is this quadrant visible to all of you?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So what we attempted to do was we tried to see, who are in where. So there are companies which are low on data-driven mindset, and there are companies which are low on data-driven culture. So what do you mean? There are companies who don't know what is new happening, and what is the culture? The companies, whatever is there, also they are not using it. Like for example, SMS, small companies are at large. They really are struggling because they're age-old small businesses. The entrepreneurs of these businesses do not know which is the new technology. And also the other challenge is they really don't want to part with data. They want to go through the old ways, but still aspire to grow in a much, much exponential way. So that is the first bottom left quadrant, which is low on data mindset and low on culture. If I move to the right side of it, I go to the next quadrant, which is low on data mindset, but definitely high on data culture. And these are typically the age-old classic economy businesses, a large old FMCG companies. They have huge amount of data. They track everything under the sun. So I can vouch for it. In most of the small to medium companies or large old economy business, this was a challenge. Old systems, databases there, everything is captured. But I don't know what to make of it because I really don't know which tools to apply. I don't have that knowledge enhancement in my organization. So I'm very high on data culture. Everybody gives me reports. Everybody makes MISs. But I don't know what to make of it because I don't have relevant systems or relevant mindset of innovation to change to do something about it. And these are typically the classic old economy business. If I move up to the diagonally up on top, there are companies which have got high on data mindset, but very low culture. And this is where typically most of the organization lies. So if you look at out of 100, almost most of the organizations in India typically lie in these three, where these two are the highest percentage. I know everything. The CEO of the organization really talks everything about data-driven approaches. He goes to the forum, talks about different initiatives of data. But the problem is there is no data culture. The management doesn't cascade and democratize the understanding, build those training modules to people so that people can talk and walk the talk what the CEO does. So huge amount of understanding, but data literacy is zero down. Data democratization is hardly there. And these are typically government-based companies. And if you go to an SI, if you go to what do you say, if you go to a collector's office in Bombay, India, the collector definitely talks about the information, but how much of data is actually being used properly? And of course, the last part is these are these progressive and agile companies which work on high amount of data mindset, and they also have a huge data culture. So is that kind of giving you some clarity about where how does this whole thing pan out?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I would want to do is I would want to take a minute from you, and I would want you to know where does your organization stand? And just take a minute. I'll just keep this back here. Just take a minute and just tell me or think about where does your organization stand in each of this? Which of the quadrants do you individually, if you're running a business, or your organization, if you're a part of it, where does it stand? Any idea, any inputs? And Ranu, so we also have a small, okay, Atul says you're high on data mining, data mindset, and low on data culture. Very true, Atul. I think that was so nice and very honest and a candid feedback. Most of the organizations, especially in India, more specifically, are in that area. A lot of thought processes there, top management, but too less democratization. And thank you so much, Ankul, for that very voluntary, candid feedback. And I think it kind of resonates much to our research areas also. Thanks for that. Ranu, we are also, what I, as a research student, I have a small link which also will give you a approach on, where do you stand when it comes to individually as a data-driven organization, data-driven approach. We try to attempt to create a very simulated a survey which would be like how you get your CIBIL score on what is your credit rating. We have come up with an initiative on what would be your data score. I request Ranu if you could just circulate from a perspective from an academic side for us to people maybe during the session or after the session, so that we can get some, and they all will probably get some score which will help them to understand where do they fit in at an independent individual level.
Sure, Venkatesh, you can share the link if you have here in the chat. People can surely go ahead and fill that up if they want to go ahead.
Yeah. Same thing? You probably share that, or probably
yes, you can share the same thing.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. So let me quickly go to the last part, and this is the most critical part where we talk about a lot of softwares and a lot of things. And there was a third part. Now that I know what is data science virtual extent, I know how human resources can be a part of that. I would want to now focus on, how do I actually start, solving the problem? Because the biggest problem is how do I start, where do I start, and how do I reskill people, or probably how do I get the right kind of people? So one of the important things is these are the 4 or 5 steps which you should look at. Firstly, you should know if I have to build a data science or probably infuse a data science in an organization, what are the roles which are there and what kind of different roles exist for me to actually start sourcing or recruiting. I'm sure that when you go and talk to a finance person or a HR or a marketing person, they would have a list of things they would want to do everything. But I kind of created some kind of a standardization for you, which would help you to understand, what are the different roles. Second is, what are the different tools, and this is what Sir spoke about. What are the different tools which are there? As an HR person or a training person or an L&D person, I should know what are these tools, so that when we talk to a internal function, we can relate to what they want, and we also can talk to the IT to reconfirm whether do we have this tool that the HR or a marketing guy or a sales guy is asking me for a training for this tool. That could be the second step for that. And the third step is important is understand the various skill sets. I've tried to give some data points on that, so I will share some skill sets for all of you. And the most important thing is keep that skill gap analysis, keep on going. So there are some links which I'm going to share with all of you, which will help you to understand how to do the skill gap, or probably better it if you already have one. And I will just share one simple format. And the important thing here is that this is not a one-time process. It's an iterative process. You may not stop doing it after the first time. And that's the most crucial part to understand. It's not a one-time activity. Every 3 months, every 6 months, you need to know because the world is changing, technologies are changing, CEO is coming up with a different vision or a different approach to the vision. So we need to constantly iterate this whole initiative, and that is more important for all of us as a process. So let me quickly try and see. So if you can you all see this screen?
Yes, we can.
Now, of all what you know, these are the only three areas where we need people for. One, if you look at the bottom right, and this is something very important, which summarizes all of it. I need a person first to operationalize the data in my organization. When I say operationalize, that person has to fetch data for me to do some analysis. Or he has to go and find, like suddenly if somebody says that I want to know last 20 years of people who applied in my company. Do we have the data? Oh, yes, we have, but it is in the paper. Can I use it? I don't know how to use it. So I need someone who can convert that, make it into a form which is operationally viable. So that is something known as data operationalization. Now, once I get that data, now I need to do something about it. So I need to optimize that data. When I say optimize, I need to ensure that the data is having a input, having some methods, some technologies, some skill sets, some statistical tools I apply to make value out of it, create some value out of it, or capture some value out of it. So that is the second part of optimizing my data. That could be a role which needs people. And third is, what do I do after that? I probably monetize. And how do I monetize that? By taking the right decisions using these two data, operationalization and optimization. And I monetize it. I would probably take a decision to reduce the cost. I would probably take a decision that I'm going to be stopping all the agencies for HR. I would only look at a portal, or probably the other way around. So hence, when I say monetization, it means saving money or also earning more efficiency of the money spent or reducing the cost. But end of the day, I'm monetizing this activity. So if you look at these are three key roles which a person needs to discuss whenever there is a requirement for a skill set of a new person or an existing person. So is the person going to be a part of operationalizing the data? So he is like a typically an engineer or a data engineer kind of person. Is he the person who is going to be making some very, very interesting insight using statistical tools? Then he could probably do some optimization work. Or is he the person who's going to go and take a decision and deliver something out of it, or possibly ask for this question so that he monetizes on it? Could be the front end people or the business stakeholder. So if you look at this, is that clear now? Yeah, is that clear?
Can you emphasize more on these three parts, like data scientist, data engineer?
So that's as I am going to do that. So
okay.
So let's look at let's look at that. So what is a data science? So if you look at this optimization, let's take a very simple example, take a case. Like as an HR person or a training person, you have got a problem to solve that the management has told you that, sir, I need a plan on what are the different training requirements and where are the people now and what are the new training which is required for my organization and how are you going to build that and how is that training going to help the business. So the first thing is you need to know what is happening. So let's take an example that you need to know what has been the training history in your organization, what kind of people have been trained and what are the skill sets in which they have been trained. But you really don't know where the data is, or probably you work in an organization which is more than 15,000, 20,000 employees, and it's scattered across the geography of India, and it is in different companies, different data sets of different databases of different computers. Or somebody has actually put that data in a database like Oracle. Somebody has used something else to store the data. And somebody has stored duplicates data. So first thing is you need to operationalize and get that data. So what you do is you probably look at a person who is well versed with handling multiple databases, multiple operations or multiple areas where we can fetch data. So typically, the person would be a data engineer. So what does he do? He basically builds and supports the infrastructure. Or it could be your IT person in your organization who could probably double hat to this role. And typically, most of the organization, the IT head or his team does it. They are typically SQL experts. They know, understand how to retrieve data, write a query, and they probably get this data for you. And I'm sure that, whenever in the organization, the first thing we say, yeah, let's talk to IT. Can you give me this data? Yes or no?
Yes, Venkatesh. Before you begin, everyone here, we are 9 people. Is it okay to continue 10 minutes ahead because we had started late, or we want us to wind up by 8? Please let me know. Thank you, Atul. What about others? Okay to continue. Okay. So Venkatesh, we would close by 8:10 sharp. So I would want you if you can finish it by 8, so that 10 minutes we can just take to take questions and all. Will that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you.
Okay, cool. So that is what is a design. Once that person helps you connecting with databases and all, it goes to the next role, which is a person who will try and find those whys of that of problems. Which people have taken. There were a lot of people in sales who took a training on negotiation. There were a lot of people in finance who took a training on database management. There could be a lot of sales guys who took a training on finance. So you possibly get to know who has done what, why the part, and that is where you create patterns and then take the background of the person. Then you come up with some analytical approach. Once you do that as a data scientist, then you come up with some modeling and you try and drive some model and you say, you know what, we should look at these kind of training programs because that is actually reflecting to the business growth. So sales guy should not only know about the product training, he should also start learning about the technology skills like using social media, because they can also do a lot of sales initiatives through social media, emailers, which is a lack. And a lot of organizations have done it and they have seen the sales guys delivering good outcomes. And that is where you explain that. So what happens is there is a business problem. A business problem is first converted into a mathematical data set by a data engineer. A data scientist converts that business problem into a mathematical problem or a statistical problem, finds solutions to that statistical problem as a statistical or a mathematical solution. But of course, he cannot just stop there, because as a business, I'm not interested in a statistical solution. If somebody says that variance is greater than 5% or significance of this data set is less than 5%, I will not be able to take a decision. So it's important for you to have another skill of converting the mathematical solution or the statistical solution into a business solution. And that's where the third part of business stakeholder is. So for each of this, there are roles specified, which is what I'm going to be quickly taking into. I will skip this part of what are the tools used. I will just take a quick rundown on this. So if you're trying to get into a data analysis or HR analytics, you would probably use these tools, which also gives you an indicator what is your organization using. So first is spreadsheets, and these are the different types of spreadsheets an organization uses. I'm sure that you all would be aware of this. The second part, when you want to work on data science, is the databases which organizations use. There could be relational databases, there could be column databases, document and graph, depending upon the size objective of the organization. Quickly to give you some understanding, these are the different databases. So somebody is talking to you about what is MySQL. It's a database to store data. It has queries to run, but it is typically a large relationship database. If somebody is going to talk about column databases, these are you get to know that people, I want people who are good in MariaDB, especially people who work in technology-based companies in HR, they will get these questions, I need a person who's good in MariaDB. So what is MariaDB? It's a column database. The organization basically stores data in a column type of database, and so you would probably need to know more about it. Okay. And then You need 1 day workshop for this. I completely agree with you. That was a tough ask for me. And then you go into, so this is the difference, in a row-oriented database, I would probably have name, John like this, but in a column-oriented, I will just put the name like this, column like. So this is a way to retrieve data faster. Then some document databases like MongoDB and all. Now this is database. Now what are the other things? If I go move ahead, I would need also some visualization tools. And when we talk about software, Sir spoke about, these are different softwares to do the first two part of analysis, the what and the why. It's very easy. You use Power BI, use Tableau, use ClickSense. All of these software we use to see the visualization, see the data in a different way. And these are certain tools which most of the organizations use. Then of course, when it comes to programming, the more part of the predictive and prescriptive is used through certain statistical modeling where you need to have some sense of these programming. Typically, depending on the organization, people would ask people who are conversant with Python, R, or probably C++ too. And then, of course, some big data tools depending upon how distributed your data is for large organizations. And last is, because now the world is moving into a rented accommodation, so a lot of learning needs to be there on these three cloud-based services like Amazon, Azure, or Google Cloud. And what is happening is, as we a very simple way explaining cloud is, I stay in a rented house, I build my own house. The moment I stay in a rented house, I can use the house for staying, setting up my office, or even having a playground or a gymnasium inside. Similarly, today the cloud services have evolved. Earlier, they used to only store data, which was the most classical explanation or example would be an email 25, 30 years ago, where a cloud was there to only store your email data because it was not feasible for you to store at your own end. But today they are storing everything else. They are giving you analytical tools, they are giving you databases, they are giving you analytical predictive modeling. All of these are encompassing all these services. So hence you have Azure, which gives you all the things. Google Cloud gives you Google Analytics, Google Data Studio, a lot of things come up. Now that gives you some perspective, and let's come to the last two parts, and I will try and close it quickly. So once you look at the roles, there are three key roles which I spoke about: operationalization of data, optimization of data, and monetization of data. So these are the three different roles, and these are the three different list of JDs or list of designations which people look for. So when a person is wanting to have someone here, you probably have JDs like data engineers, architects, cloud, data scientists here, which cuts across all, because it's often misquoted that the person would be an operationalization of data, you would still be known as data scientist in some organization and similar ahead. And if you're looking at optimizing data, you could probably have a statistician or a business analyst or a data analyst. And if you want to monetize data, you could probably be a person who's going to talk, or a stakeholder in the company, a senior business partner in the company, or a business translator who basically is a bridge between these two to get these things done for the objective of the company. I have done some detailing on this. I'll probably see whether I share some stuff on this for all of you. And then, of course, the last part is how to identify these skills. This is very important. Conduct an annual skill gap. It's very important to conduct it because it helps in 3-4 ways. One is it helps you in knowing what is happening, how the digital transformation is happening. It helps you to understand the entire employee workforce in the organization. And not only data skill set, you can possibly identify a lot of other skill gaps also. And of course, it gives you direction in hiring properly. And a very simple example of a skill gap tracker, it could be like this. I could just say that, Salesforce for Sales Cloud, current skill is 1, rate from 1 to 5, and I probably, start filling this up. That's from my side. To summarize quickly, 3 important things. Data science is the need of the hour. And if we are lost time, we should start now. More than happy to support the organization in any possible way, from an academic perspective, also from an business perspective. HR needs to be in the forefront because you are the forefront of the organization, because you are the person who hires the first. So you set a trend of how the culture and the organization should start. And the last important thing is skill gap is very, very critical for our organization, because otherwise, we keep on becoming complacent that we do everything. So keep periodically doing the skill gap. And to just end some links, I will share some links to all of you for your support. Let me end it in a very humorous way. Thank you all of you for your time. I know it is a little long, but I thought to make an attempt. I know it is a vast subject, so please feel free to share your questions and share your feedback.
Thank you so much, Venkatesh, for joining us and giving such an insightful session on data. And I see that this is actually more than 1 day program, and to really gain value from this. I would really open this floor quickly for maybe a question or a two. If anyone has to ask Venkatesh, you can ask.
Venkatesh, sir, I would like to just, I had raised that question regarding the software. And in that, what I wanted was that, do we generally use for the statistical part, do we use SPSS or SAS, or of course, or would you suggest something like, say, some type of open source graphic, something like, say, GNUP, PSPP to be used? Would you suggest? And for visualization part, what type of thing do you suggest? Tableau to be used, or something like, say, Cruncher or Talent Lab? What type of thing you would recommend in terms of this? Because different companies would have, some of them are proprietary type of softwares that one is talking about. So, and for certain things, whether do you recommend R to be used? So, because you have been practicing this. So for us who are learners in this particular regard, what would you really suggest?
So, okay, so I think so there are two parts. The first is how if you are starting, and first is to assess how much of data you have to process.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the first thing is how much data. Like if you are having an organization where all the data of the organization can probably fit in say 10,000 or 12,000 rows or 99,000 rows in an Excel, I think it's very easy for you to use any kind of Excel-based zero coding self initiatives to start working on the what and the why part. So to answer question number one. Suppose you feel that your organization is capturing humongous amount of data, and it is stored in say some database, or you have already a data warehouse where you're storing data, and you need to retrieve data from different particular data sets, and possibly you need to wrangle the data because there are a lot of primary keys in each of the data, and you would want to do some lot of complex multivariate initiatives. Then my suggestion could be that you could probably go a notch up, probably use a language, or use an SQL plus a language to retrieve the data to the language portal or a language interface, and probably write a script with that language to process and get some outcome. And I think, and then if the complexity as it increases, we probably use advanced algorithm models to do that. Now, having said that, so that's the way you look forward. Now, to answer the specific question of which software, I sense that we should first start with getting the what in an basic Excel. And a lot of things can be done in Excel. We really don't need to spend a lot of money to do that. And if at all we are in an organization where the visualization is important, because Excel may take some time to write a macro, I think the most easiest is any SaaS platform, any software as a service which is giving analytics. It could be Tableau is good, Power BI is good, Zoho Analytics is good. All are almost the same. It's like it's like having a little bit of a change of a model in a sedan. There would be a sedan which has got this extra but that less, and this sedan has got another thing extra and this less. But by and large, to start with, a Tableau, a Power BI, a Zoho Analytics, all of it. Okay. Now that's step one. Now step two is suppose you have a lot of data, and suppose you really need to build an organization where a huge amount of data-driven decision making is inevitable. I would suggest to look at building a data excellence in your organization, or you want to basically come up with some applications, whatever you looked at. So you will probably look at someone who could probably help you in building the approach of data science or approach of modeling in your organization. Or there are people who still code in C, C++, there are people who code with R, there are people who code with Python. I here would recommend Python. The reason is because it's the most widely used language for any data pre-processing, processing, or visualization. It also has a lot of stuff to do visualization. The reason is because one of the important things in data science is you can copy. That's the only difference across any other mode of study. Because today you don't have to rewrite the code. You already have a lot of developer communities. You have a lot of opportunities to learn Python. You have a lot of opportunities to exchange your information of how the logic of retrieving something is in Python. The community plays a big role. So it becomes easy for someone to start using Python and delivering it. Having said that, R is good. Typically, R is more academically used. It works more in academic sense because there are all the things. In fact, just to give a perspective, there is something in a structural equation modeling which speaks about conjoint analysis, factor analysis, high-end statistical things. It works in R using a library known as Laman, and recently it has also been done on Python. There is a SemoPy library which does it. So given an option today, how the world is moving, Python would be the best alternative when it comes to any programming. So start with Excel, do a lot of stuff in Excel which will help you to get some confidence about what you want to actually find as an objective. And then probably move into get better visualizations using any kind of a SaaS platform. And then if you really want to move into a large data set of crushing, wrangling, training, or possibly doing some analytical stuff on multiple data sources, I would advocate Python more than any other software.
Thank you, Venkatesh. There is another question on the chat. What are the HR analytical skills required for an HR executive who's starting his career in HR?
I think this will be more of a overall skills I would probably suggest rather than just specifying a job skill. I think one of the important skills of a person, irrespective of whether it's HR or marketing and analytical area, is a thorough understanding of statistics, a thorough understanding of how statistical estimations help in decision making. I think that's the fundamental skill required to analyze statistics is very key. The second part is obviously statistics doesn't just come alone. It needs a little bit of a mathematical understanding. And when I'm saying mathematical understanding, not that you would probably want to learn integrations and probably graph theory to start with, a simpler understanding of how numbers work, how regression is, what is logistic regression. Some understanding of mathematics and statistics is must. The second important thing is the person needs to have a mindset of being intuitive. Very few people would want to find out problems, and it's very important for us to have that mindset of solving problems, learning something new constantly, and these are something very soft skills. The person has to be very tech savvy, want to learn something new in this life, always wanting to come up and learn something. He may not excel, that is absolutely okay, but he wants to learn. So the aptitude of learning has to be high, the aptitude of questioning has to be very high. I think these are some basic skills required. And because languages, databases, applications are all evolving. So today, if you know the logic of solving a problem, you can solve the problem. Suppose I don't know the logic of going from A to place B, then irrespective of whether whichever language I know, I will not be able to communicate, right? So I need to have a strong logic building. So my logical thinking skill has to be high. My mathematics and statistical skill has to be very high. And as a person, I should be very intuitive, interested in knowing more, finding something unknown, looking out for something unknown. So I think these are some overall skill set required for HR or as a matter of fact analysis. And of course, if you are an HR analytics, you need to know the HR domain. So you need to have a very good understanding of HR as a function. Right from what is HR, what are the different models of HR, what does HR BPO do, what is the role of compensation, how does compensation work, do you have a complete understanding of performance appraisal system models, and all of these. So fundamental domain understanding is key. On top of it, analytical skill set of maths and stats and an intuitiveness. Does that answer your question? Hello?
Yeah, thank you so much. It does answer my question.
Sure, sure. Yeah, sure.
All right then, great. It's 8:10, and thank you so much.
So
It's a pleasure to have you and also the participants. Nitin sir, over to you.
I think thank you so much for sharing the very, very important informations. And I think it's a great work you have already done, and your willingness to share this great work with us is really, really appreciable. Thank you so much for sparing your time and sharing this wealth of information. The only take, I think this is, to me, it looks like that we need to really learn it more. And as you're talking about both this skill and mindset, so probably we need to really spread this awareness to more HR people and understand from them that how these things could be useful, what are the barriers in implementing this thing, and how brainstorming, collective discussion can ensure the implementation of these things within organization. Everybody's talking very high. HR has to work very closely with the business, and I think businesses are already doing a lot of analytics, statistics, but HR themselves, they have to really understand it. And also, I think very, very important, what I understand, the communication. So even if a lot of data being generated, and one of the point you mentioned that even analytics can also emphasize that how much data, how much communication is reaching to the people. So that gap has to be bridged. Probably this kind of interaction would help us a lot. So I'm looking forward for maybe a one-day workshop or whatever, and let's see how can we develop it and better communicate to more ISTDs and HR fraternity so that we can take leverage of your great experience. So thank you so much for coming here.
Yeah, that would be great, Nitin sir. One last information to all. Please, whoever has attended and if you have liked the workshop, do comment on the group, how was the workshop, and do give feedback about the workshop. Yes. Thank you, Venkatesh, and we'll sign off.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all of you.
ISTD group. I think Ranu is referring to ISTD member group.
Yes, ISTD member group. If you guys are not members, then yes, please become lifetime member, because there is a discount which is going on currently on lifetime membership, and the information Nitin sir can share about it. So do become a lifetime member, guys.
Yeah, please visit ISTD website to know more about lifetime membership. Very, very nominal rates. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, all of you. Have a pleasant weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye. Please do share the recording. If you help us to also, we can share it.
Yes.
To everybody. Thank you, Mr. Nitin. Thank you, Ranu, for your time. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.